Hi everyone, and welcome to this year's Leadership Hustings. My name is Jamie, I'm the Felix editor, and I'm here with Arnav and Karina from IC Radio. Today we'll be interviewing candidates for Imperial College Union's 5 Officer Trustee roles, and for those of you who aren't aware, the Officer Trustees are elected each year, around this time, to represent the student body. Their roles are full-time paid positions and they serve a 1-year term. Voting this year will open on Monday the 11th of March at 9 a.m. and it will close 3 days later on Thursday the 14th of March at 2 p.m. If you'd like to see changes at the university or to the student experience, this is one of the best ways to have your say. The people elected next week will represent the whole student body to the university. They'll have the power to lobby for change and work within the student union itself to improve your time at Imperial. So please do vote. We're following a slightly different format this year. The event is being co-hosted by Felix, the student newspaper, and IC Radio, which is Imperial's very own radio station. The format of the interviews is as follows. We'll have each of the candidates who have signed up for this event come in, allow them to introduce themselves and talk about their plans. We'll finish with a couple of questions to them, and then move on to the next candidate. And for each question, the candidates will have a maximum of 3 minutes to respond. New for this year, we're also hosting a presidential debate with the candidates for union president. 6 people applied for that role. 2 of them have signed up today. And so thank you to Camille and Chelsea Stubbs for agreeing to the debate. Without further ado, let's make a start. And we're starting today by interviewing candidates for union president. The union president is leader of the Imperial student body and the key contact for the college's most senior staff when they want the student perspective. The president manages the officer trustee team. They lead the union's partnerships with the college, and they work with its professional staff members to give members the best possible student experience. First up, we have Camille, who is the current union president and running for re-election this year. Hello, Camille. Could you please introduce yourself and tell us why students should vote for you to be union president next year?
So hi everyone, my name is Camille. I'm the current union president, for those of you who don't know me. A bit about me so before I was elected, I was an undergrad here at Imperial. I studied aeronautics for 4 years. And I graduated from that in June 2023, so last year. And during my time as an undergrad, I spent a lot of time in clubs and societies, and that's sort of how I got involved with the union. I was president of netball, IC netball that is, for 1 year. In my 3rd year, I was trip secretary and secretary of the Snow Sports Club, and this year I was also part of Imperial College Imperial College Women's Rugby Committee as a trip sec. So I've been on various committees. I also, when I was an undergrad in my department, was the wellbeing rep. So I love representing clubs and students and my peers, and I think that's why I ran last year for the role, alongside some sort of ambitious ideas, and why I'm still rerunning this year for another year of this. So why should students vote for me to be union president next year? I think first and foremost, a union president needs to care about the student experience, and I care deeply, so that's one good reason. I think also what comes with rerunning is sort of knowledge about the limitations and how short 1 year is to make change. It also comes with the role is most effective when you have good stakeholder relationships, which I've managed to acquire this year, not only with staff in the union but also in the college. And I feel like that's gone pretty smoothly for me this year, so I want to carry that on. I also feel like there's I only studied as an undergrad at Imperial, so I had very limited understanding of what it's like to be a postgrad, understandably. But actually in this year, in this role, that I've understood a lot more what struggles and where postgrads might need support, which is why I've chosen to specifically include that in my manifesto this year, because that was an issue that was brought to us by the postgrad community, and something I think would be really effective to increase the London allowance. And make a big difference to not only students at Imperial, but any postgrad student in London, studying in London, researching in London. So yeah, I hope that's a good overview.
Thanks, Camille. So my next question relates to your plan to create more opportunities for interdepartmental exchange modules across faculties. You said you'd like to do this last year and acknowledge in your manifesto that you have yet to complete this. So I wanted to ask, have you started work on that this year? And how would you go about implementing the exchange?
This is kind of related to my last answer in that you understand a bit more the limitations that come with the role and how much time you have. That it is probably the project I've done the least work on. I think for this project to complete itself, there needs to be a really good working relationship with the deans of the faculties, which I've managed to acquire but hasn't been easy. So when speaking to, because there's sort of two edges to the cross-discipline, so there's within Imperial and then also the potential of collaborating with LSE. And I've spoken about that with many senior staff in the college, who obviously spend a lot of time comparing us to US competitors. And I've mentioned in my previous manifesto that Harvard and MIT have this cross-register that I was looking to implement with LSE. And actually just a huge limitation is that LSE students don't study the same A-levels obviously as Imperial students, and so can't as easily access our courses as we can theirs. So there's a bit of a discrepancy and just needs to be worked on like a lot more than I initially thought going into the role last year, which is I think the biggest hurdle. So to answer your question, have I started working on it? Very little, if I'm honest, but it's in the works. The conversations have been had. It's just there's not really a plan of action yet, which is why I want to bring it into next year. And how would I go on about implementing this exchange? As I said, it needs to come from the deans. They need to be on board, and then from there it trickles down quite easily into head of departments, and then there needs to be a huge cross-collaborative effort. But for those of us that have been here for a long time and realise that there's quite a decentralised approach at Imperial, each department does things differently. So there needs to be some sort of unifying effort to bring everyone on board and demonstrate how important it is, and the want as well from undergrads to want to be able to do things from other modules. And that's certainly something that I've heard from the student community that they want to do. This year I've made an active effort to still, even though this is a full-time job, to still be part of the societies that I was part of when I was an undergrad, because that was my way of keeping my ear to the ground, and it's still something I really think students want, is to be cross-disciplined and to be able to pick up, if you're an engineering undergrad, to be able to do a computing module if you're in aero, I don't know, and vice versa. So I think it's just acknowledging that people's interests change and they want to be able to choose different modules over the course of the 3-4 years they're here.
Thanks, Camille. So my final question for you, which I'm asking to all candidates for this role who have come to the Hustings event, relates to the cost of living crisis. So the cost of living has increased dramatically over the past couple of years, and students in particular have struggled. A number of them have got in touch with us to say that the price of food on Imperial's campuses in particular is unaffordably high. How would you support those students?
Yeah, it's definitely been on the union's radar this year as well. And definitely when I was an undergrad student was something that was definitely prominent. I didn't so much tackle Imperial's food provision because in my mind, the cost of living, people tackle it by actually bringing their own food onto campus. And so my way of tackling it this year was trying to increase the number of microwaves available to students and the amount of spaces that people could collect in without feeling the need or obliged to spend money on campus if they didn't want to or if they felt it was too expensive, which it definitely is. And that's gone quite well, and I've been able to collaborate with one of the college's most senior staff, a lady who's responsible for campus services, and we're creating a sort of interactive map that maps all the amenities on campus, on which the microwaves are going to go on, just so it's super duper clear for anyone who doesn't want, that there isn't a need to spend money on campus if you'd rather not. Obviously that doesn't answer your question fully, because some people will want to spend money on campus, and so the cost of food does need to come down, and that's also been in the works this year of looking at actually what do students want to buy on campus. Is it a full meal for that extra £3 more, or is it something a bit less elaborate but cheaper and more accessible to more students? That said, there are students on campus who want the former, and so there needs to be a provision for everyone. But yeah, I think to answer the ultimate question, which is how do you support these students, there just needs to be multiple amenities available for all your different types, from those who want to go to Kimiko every lunchtime to those who just want to heat up their food in a microwave. So yeah, that was my, I think, probably highlight of my second term, was getting a Jane Neary to agree to a microwave in Reynolds building, which has never happened before. So yeah.
Okay, thanks for your time, Camille. So we're now going to move on to Chelsea Stubbs, also running for union president and our second and final interviewee for the role.